All right, ready to ditch the usual doom scrolling. Let's take a deep dive into something a little different today. We're going to explore the dark side of Facebook, but with a bit of a twist.
Ooh, a twist, huh?
Lay it on me.
You ready for some poetry slam?
Poetry and Facebook. Now there's a combo I wouldn't have predicted. Color me intrigued.
Right. The source material we're looking at today is called How Facebook Eats Your Soul, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride.
How Facebook eats your soul sounds intense. I'm in.
It really is. You get some pretty serious social commentary, but then it throws in these practical tips on writing poetry slam pieces specifically, those killer opening lines that just hook you from the start.
Okay, I'm listening. But how does it all connect, though? Facebook to soul eating. Is that just like dramatic flair, or is there something deeper going on there?
Well, it all starts with this super vivid image of a soul-sucking black screen, and the piece talks about how Facebook plays this devious game of carrot and stick with our emotions, keeping us hooked and coming back for more. Yeah, that image of the black screen, I think it kind of resonates, It taps into this feeling a lot of us have, we know we should resist, put the phone down, step away, but there's this pull, this urge to log back in, just to see what we're missing, to get that little hit of validation, you know what I mean?
Totally. So the big question is, are we all just puppets to the algorithm? Is there any hope for us? Or are we doomed to scroll till our thumbs fall off?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The thing is, the source actually points to poetry slams as a potential antidote, a way to fight back. It even calls them humanity's last bastion against this whole algorithmic control thing.
Poetry slams. Seriously, that sounds a bit extreme, don't you think? I mean, I enjoy a good rhyme as much as the next person, but saving humanity, that's a pretty tall order for a poetry slam.
Yeah, at first glance, it might seem a little over the top. But think about it this way. Poetry slams, they're all about raw, unfiltered expression. It's just people connecting in a real vulnerable way, sharing their stories and emotions without the filter of algorithms or those carefully curated feeds.
So it's like the complete opposite of Facebook, where everyone's trying to present this perfect, polished version of themselves, the highlight reel and all that.
Exactly. And that's where the source's argument gets interesting. It's suggesting that maybe, just maybe, what we're missing in our online lives is this authenticity, this willingness to be vulnerable and connect on a deeper level, without all the pretense.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going.
Hmm.
But why poetry slams specifically? Why not just, have a deep conversation with a friend or write in a journal? Why the whole stage and performance aspect?
Well, the source actually dives into the unique aspects of poetry slams. It's not just about self-expression, what you might get with journaling. It's about performing, about connecting with an audience in a really direct way, about using language to create an impact that goes beyond just getting your feelings out.
So there's this element of performance and vulnerability that you don't get in a private journal entry. Makes sense.
Yeah. Exactly. And then here's where things take a surprising turn. The source starts giving these practical tips for writing killer poetry slam opening lines.
Now, that's something I can get behind. I've always been a sucker for a good opening line. What kind of tips are we talking about? Spill the beans.
Well, the source emphasizes that you've got mere seconds to grab the audience's attention when you're up on that stage. So those opening lines need to be bold, unexpected, maybe even a little shocking to really cut through the noise.
Okay, give me an example. What kind of lines are we talking about here? I'm dying to know.
All right, buckle up. One example the source gives is, yesterday I talked to a cockroach about love. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to hear where that's going?
Okay, yeah, that's definitely attention grabbing. But is it just about being weird or provocative, or is there a method to the madness?
It's about creating an immediate impact, tapping into that primal curiosity we all have. The author actually breaks down different types of opening lines, like using absurd contrast or creating what they call a mindfuck moment.
Mindfuck moment. Okay, now you're talking my language. I'm all about those mind-bending moments that make you question everything. Give me another example. Hit me.
All right, how about this? What if I told you that you're not really experiencing this moment, but only remembering it?
Whoa, that is deep. And a little creepy, if I'm honest. It's like, whoa, what's going on here?
Exactly. That's the point. It's a line that just stops you in your tracks and makes you think. It challenges your perceptions of reality. And in a poetry slam, that's gold.
So it's not just about shock value. It's about using language to spark a deeper level of engagement, right? Make them think, make them feel something.
Exactly. And here's what's fascinating. These techniques, they apply beyond poetry. Think about presentations, speeches, even everyday conversations. It's all about captivating your audience, making your voice heard.
So these techniques are like secret weapons for anyone who wants to communicate more effectively, regardless of the context.
Exactly. And in a world that's constantly vying for our attention, that's a skill that's becoming more valuable than ever. Think about it. How do you cut through the noise and really make people listen? That's what this is all about.
This is starting to blow my mind. I'm seeing poetry slams in a whole new light. Who knew?
It's not just about poetry, it's about mastering the art of communication. And luckily, the source we're looking at, it has a whole arsenal of techniques to share.
Okay, I'm all ears. What other gems of wisdom does this unconventional source have in store for us? Let's dive back in.
Well, there's more to come. The piece goes on to explore even more techniques for crafting those attention-grabbing opening lines. And trust me, they get even wilder and more creative. We'll pick up right where we left off in part 2 of this deep dive. All right, so we're back, diving deeper into this crazy world where Facebook's dark side meets the raw energy of poetry slams. Who would have thought?
It's been a wild ride so far. I mean, we've got this idea that poetry slams could actually be like an antidote to the whole algorithm-controlled world of social media.
Yep.
Plus, we've even gotten a sneak peek at those killer opening lines that can grab an audience's attention like nothing else.
And we're just getting started. The source we're looking at, it goes even deeper, exploring even more techniques for crafting those attention-grabbing opening lines. And trust me, they get pretty wild. Like next-level creativity here.
Okay, I'm hooked. Hit me with some more of those examples. The wilder, the better.
All right, brace yourself. How about this one? If you walk past a homeless person today and thought they should just get a job, then you're the problem.
Whoa, okay, that's a powerful statement. Not exactly your typical lighthearted poetry slam opener, is it?
Exactly. That's what makes it so effective. The source calls this one the aggressive wake-up call. It's about challenging those assumptions, those easy judgments we make, maybe even making the audience a little uncomfortable.
So it's not just about being clever or witty. It's about using language as a tool to make people think, to spark a reaction, to really shake things up.
Right, and it's interesting how this connects back to the whole Facebook thing. We're so used to these carefully curated versions of reality, you know? But poetry slams, they offer a space for that raw, unfiltered truth that you don't get online.
Yeah, it's like stepping outside of the echo chamber for a minute, actually confronting the world as it is. No filters, no pretense, just raw emotion. I dig it.
Exactly. And that's the power of it. It's about breaking free from the expected, from the comfortable, from the mundane. And the source, it gives us a whole toolbox for doing just that.
Okay, give me another example. Let's see what other surprises this source has up its sleeve. I'm ready for anything at this point.
All right, how about this one? I woke up and someone was sitting at my bed. He had my face.
Okay, that's just creepy. Like straight out of a horror movie.
Exactly. The source calls this one the horror movie start. It's all about using those vivid images, the suspense, to create a sense of unease right from the get-go, to captivate the audience and make them lean in.
Yeah, I could see how that would be effective even if it's not exactly my style. It definitely leaves you wanting to know more. Like, what happens next? Who is this guy? Why does he have your face?
Right, and again, it's about breaking free from the expected. It's not your typical, love poem or introspective reflection. It's something that grabs you and doesn't let go.
Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this. It's like push the boundaries, use language in unexpected ways, create an impact. It's almost like a game, but with words as your weapons.
Exactly. And the source, it has one more technique to share that's a bit lighter, but still incredibly effective.
Okay, I'm all for a little levity after that horror movie opener. What's this final trick of the trade?
Get ready for the humor bomb. This one's all about using a witty, relatable anecdote or observation to connect with the audience right away, to disarm them with laughter and make them feel like you're one of them.
All right, I love a good laugh. Give me an example of a humor bomb opening line. Let's hear it.
How about this? I sent a voice message today saying, I love you. Problem. It wasn't for my mom, but for the DHL delivery guy.
Oh, no. I could totally see myself doing that. Sending a message to the wrong person.
Yeah.
That's classic and so relatable.
Exactly. It's a scenario that almost everyone has experienced, right? That awkward moment, the cringe. And it instantly makes the audience chuckle and feel connected to the speaker because they've been there too.
It's like using humor to break down that wall between the performer and the audience, to create this shared experience, this sense of, hey, we're all in this together. I like it.
Right. And humor can be incredibly powerful, especially when it comes to delivering a message.
Yeah.
It disarms people, makes them more receptive, and it just makes the whole experience more enjoyable.
So it's not just about telling jokes. It's about using humor strategically to make your message stick. to make it memorable.
Exactly. And that actually brings us to the source's concluding thoughts. Ready for the grand finale.
Hit me with it. After all these techniques and examples, I'm dying to know what the big takeaway is. What's the source's ultimate message? The wisdom it wants to impart.
The source wraps it all up with this powerful statement. Boredom is your enemy. Surprise is your weapon. A great first line turns a nice talk into an unforgettable performance.
Damn, that's a good quote. It's like a call to action, right? Break free from the mundane, inject some excitement, be original.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to captivate and inspire no matter where we are or what we're doing, whether it's on a stage, in a meeting, or just chatting with friends. It's about making those words count.
And how does all of this tie back into the whole Facebook and social media theme we started with? What's the connection?
Think about it. Our attention spans, they're shrinking, right? We're constantly bombarded with information, notifications, updates, and it's easy to just become numb to it all, to lose sight of what's really important.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like information overload all the time. How do we even keep up?
Exactly. And this source, it's challenging us to break free from that cycle, to be more mindful about where we direct our attention, to seek out those things that nourish our minds and souls rather than just scrolling endlessly through the void.
So it's about being more intentional with our communication, both as creators and consumers.
Precisely. And all those techniques we've been exploring, they're about creating impact, cutting through the clutter, making our messages stand out and resonate.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about writing killer poetry slam opening lines. It's about rediscovering the power of authentic expression in a world that's becoming increasingly superficial and algorithm-driven.
Exactly. And that's where the source's final recommendation comes in. It suggests a book called Poetry Master Poesy Craft in 7 Tagen.
Ooh, a book recommendation. I always love a good reading list. What's so special about this one? Why this book?
Well, the source presents it as like a ticket out of algorithm hell, a guide to reclaiming your voice and your attention in a world that's constantly trying to steal them.
That's a pretty bold claim. What's inside this book? What makes it so special?
Well, it's described as a guide to using words so they are not just heard, but felt. It's about mastering the art of language and using it to create a powerful and lasting impact on your audience, on the world.
So it's not just for aspiring poets then. It's for anyone who wants to improve their communication skills and make their messages resonate, regardless of the context.
Exactly. And that's a really valuable takeaway from this whole deep dive, I think. Whether you're writing a blog post, giving a presentation, or just having a conversation with a friend, those techniques we've been talking about, they can help you connect on a deeper level and make your voice heard.
This has been an incredible journey. We started with the dark side of Facebook and ended up exploring the transformative power of poetry. What a wild ride. Who knew?
And it all comes down to this. Don't let algorithms dictate your life. Reclaim your attention, find your voice, and use it to create something meaningful, something that matters to you.
Powerful stuff. So for our listeners who are ready to ditch the doom scrolling and embrace their inner poet, where can they find this book? We need details.
We'll be sure to include links in the show notes, so don't worry. And for those who aren't quite ready to tackle a whole book just yet, just start experimenting with those techniques we've discussed today.
Yes. Challenge yourself to write a captivating opening line. Use a bizarre question to spark a conversation. Inject some humor into your next presentation. Just play with language, see what happens.
The key is to break free from the mundane and find your own unique voice, your own style. That's what makes you stand out, what makes you memorable.
And remember, boredom is the enemy, surprise is your weapon. So go out there and detonate some words.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive completely, I have one final thought-provoking question for our listeners. Something to chew on.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. Hit me with it. Let's hear it.
If Facebook feeds us what we want, what does it mean to actively seek out what we truly need? Think about that for a minute.
That's a good one. It's so easy to get caught up in the endless scroll, consuming all that content that's designed to keep us hooked, but not necessarily fulfilled, right?
Right. And this deep dive, it's been all about challenging us to be more intentional with our attention, to seek out those experiences that nourish our minds and souls, not just our dopamine receptors.
So whether it's attending a poetry slam, reading a thought-provoking book, or just having a deep conversation with someone who gets you, it's about making choices that align with our values and help us grow as individuals to become more fully ourselves.
Exactly. And that's a pretty good message to leave our listeners with, I think. Food for thought.
Well said. Now, before we officially sign off, I believe we have a special message from our resident word detonator, Stephen, he's got something to say.
Take it away, Stefan. Let's hear what you've got.
Okay, so that last question you dropped, it's really sticking with me. Y- If Facebook's just feeding us what we want, how do we even begin to figure out what we need?
Yeah. It's a tough one, right? It gets at this whole idea of like, are we in control of our own desires or are we just being manipulated by algorithms?
Yeah.
Heavy stuff.
This whole conversation about poetry slams, it's making me think about that contrast even more. Like, on Facebook, it's all about presenting this perfect, polished version of yourself, the highlight reel. But in a poetry slam, it's about being raw, unfiltered, letting it all hang out.
Exactly. It's like stepping out of that carefully curated online world and into a space where real, raw human connection is the main event.
And it's not always pretty or comfortable, right?
Right.
Some of those opening lines we talked about, the ones that really grab you, they can be kind of jarring, like a punch to the gut.
That's the point, though, isn't it? Sometimes we need that discomfort, that jolt to wake us up and remind us that there's more to life than just scrolling through our feeds.
So maybe what we need isn't always going to be served up to us on a silver platter by some algorithm. Maybe it's out there in the real world, waiting for us to discover it.
Exactly. Maybe it's in a poetry slam or a book that makes you think differently or a conversation that really gets to the heart of things. It could be anything, really. The important thing is to be open, to explore, to get out of our comfort zones.
All right, I'm feeling inspired. Time to ditch the doom scrolling and go find some real soul food. Any parting words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap things up?
Just remember, boredom is the enemy, surprise is your weapon. And as our friend Stefan would say,
Hey, you algorithm junkies. It's Stephen, the word detonator here, dropping some truth bombs. You were born with a voice, a story to tell, so don't let those soulless algorithms drown you out. Grab a pen, find a stage, and unleash the poetry within you. The world needs your words, people. Boom. Mic drop.
well, he certainly left us with a bang.
And a challenge. So, to our listeners, we say, go find your voice. Ditch the doom scrolling. Embrace the surprise. And hey, if you're looking for a guide on that journey, remember Poetry Master, Poesy Craft in Seven Tagen is out there waiting for you. We'll drop a link in the show notes. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those words flowing.